Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through stacks of sources, articles, research, notes, basically distilling it all down so you get well-informed fast. Today we're getting into something pretty intriguing, aura cleansing. We've got a really comprehensive set of materials here. History, spiritual texts, scientific critiques, even practical guides. Our mission: to unpack what people mean by auras, look at the ways they try to cleanse them, and maybe surprisingly explore the science and psychology behind why these practices often feel like they work.
Exactly. We want to give you a shortcut, really, to understanding this topic. It's right at that fascinating spot where spiritual belief meets everyday human experience. It's all about what we perceive, what we believe, and what actually makes us feel, better.
Okay, so to really get into aura cleansing, we first need to tackle the aura itself. What exactly is it, according to these sources?
Right. So in the worlds of spirituality, alternative medicine, that kind of thing, the aura is generally described as this luminous energy field, often colored. It's said to surround and permeate living things, like your own unique energetic signature. Think of it as a subtle body, something that bridges the physical world we see and the metaphysical. And it's believed to reflect pretty much everything about you, your health, your emotions, your thoughts, even your spiritual state.
And the word itself, aura.
Yeah, it comes from Latin and Greek, meaning wind, breeze, or breath, which kind of hints at that intangible quality, doesn't it? And you have psychics, clairvoyants, holistic folks who claim they can actually perceive this field. They look at its characteristics, the color, the size, shape, the sort of vibrational quality, and use it like a diagnostic tool. So it's seen as this living map of who you are, constantly changing.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
How did this idea evolve? Is it some ancient wisdom passed down, or is the modern concept maybe...
Yeah, that's a great question. There are definitely historical threads, like Paracelsus back in the 16th century wrote about a luminous sphere of vital force. But the modern Western idea, a lot of that really got shaped and pushed into the mainstream by Charles Webster Leadbeater. He was a key figure in the Theosophical Society late 19th, early 20th century. His 1903 book, Man, Visible and Invisible, had these colored pictures of auras. Made it very visual.
Oh, the illustrations. I think I've seen those.
Probably. But maybe even more influential was his 1910 work, The Inner Life. That's where he took the Hindu concept of chakras and sort of reinterpreted them as energy vortices, linking them up systematically with body parts. Now, the sources stress this wasn't a direct copy-paste from Eastern traditions. It was more of a creative blend, Western esotericism mixed with a modified take on Eastern mysticism. And that blend, that really became the foundation for a lot of New Age beliefs about auras and chakras that followed. It spurred on things like crystal healing, aura soma. It's fascinating how ideas morph.
So if it's this complex field, what about its structure? People talk about layers of light. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, the layers are key. The core idea is that the aura isn't just one solid thing, it's multi-layered and dynamic, constantly shifting with your thoughts, feelings, health. Think of it like layers of an onion, but energetic. And while early theosophy talked about 5 divisions, the model you hear most often now in New Age circles has 7 main layers, and each layer is often linked to one of the major chakras, those energy centers.
Okay, like which ones?
So you've got the physical or etheric layer, closest to the body, tied to physical health, sensations, root chakra stuff. Then the astral or emotional layer linked to the sacral chakra, reflecting your feelings, your emotional landscape. Moving out, there's the lower mental layer, solar plexus, dealing with reason, intellect, thought patterns. And a higher mental layer at the heart chakra, seen as a bridge between the physical and spiritual, connecting self-love to wider compassion. Then you get into more spiritual territory. A spiritual layer at the throat chakra for communication on that level. An intuitional or celestial layer at the third eye for intuition, dreams, higher awareness. And finally, the absolute or catheric layer at the crown chakra, which is thought to hold everything together harmoniously.
Wow, that's elaborate. And the visual aspects, colors, brightness.
Right, they're seen as diagnostic. Colors have meanings like blue often means calm or communicative. Red might be passion or anger. A muddy or dark grayish aura, that's usually interpreted as an imbalance, negativity, maybe even illness. Whereas a big, bright, expansive aura suggests someone open, healthy, vibrant. And a small, dim, constricted one might indicate fear, illness, or being very withdrawn. It basically externalizes your inner state, makes it this sort of visible, color-coded map. It's a way to make the internal tangible, I suppose.
Okay, that makes sense as a concept. So if the aura is this reflection of us, Why does it need cleansing? What's the thinking behind these purification rituals?
The rationale is that this energy field, your aura, isn't isolated. It's constantly interacting with everything around you, your environment, other people. It's seen as acting kind of like an energetic immune system, but one that can absorb things. Things like psychic debris, negative thoughts floating around, or even just the emotional stress from others.
Like an energy sponge.
Sort of, yeah. And the belief is if your aura is weak or you're not actively protecting it, it can get blemished, muddy, damaged, blocked. You get the idea. And the symptoms people report when they feel their aura is compromised. Things like stress, anxiety, feeling irritable, tired all the time, mental fog, just feeling off. Some holistic views even suggest that this kind of energetic imbalance could eventually lead to physical illness if it's not addressed.
So cleansing is like spiritual hygiene.
That's exactly how it's framed, spiritual exercise or energetic hygiene. The goal is to clear out all that negative buildup, get rid of blockages, and restore the aura's brightness and balance. And the claimed benefits. More energy, feeling emotionally balanced, clearer thinking, less stress. Some even mention pain relief or looking better cosmetically.
Okay, let's dive into the methods. Smoke cleansing, often called smudging, seems really common. What's the lowdown on that?
Smoke purification is ancient. Used for thousands of years across cultures, often believed to carry prayers upwards or clear out negativity. In aura cleansing today, you hear about various dried plants. White sage, Salvia apiana, is probably the best known. Its Latin name, salvare, means to heal. It's thought to be powerful for dispelling negative energy. Then there's palo santo, which means holy wood. It has this sweet scent, and it's believed to clear negativity while attracting positive energy, good fortune, creativity. Cedar is used for protection, grounding, especially in spaces affected by illness or conflict. Sweetgrass, often called the hair of Mother Earth, is gentle, inviting positive energy, carrying prayers. You also see things like lavender for relaxation, rosemary for focus, frankincense for stress and spiritual connection. Lots of options.
And how is it typically done?
Usually you gather your materials, the smudge stick or loose herbs, something fireproof to catch ashes, a lighter, maybe a feather to waft the smoke. You'd open windows or doors to let the negativity out, set a clear intention like, release what no longer serves me. Light the tip, let it burn for maybe 30 seconds, then gently blow out the flame so you get thick smoke. Then you waft that smoke all around your body, head to feet, front, back, sides, visualizing it absorbing any energetic gunk. Afterwards, you press the smoldering end into your fireproof dish, maybe with sand or salt, to extinguish it safely. Some people return the ashes to the earth.
Now, you mentioned cultural context earlier.
Yes, and this is really important. The sources really emphasize this. While smoke cleansing is a general term, the specific practice called smudging is a sacred ceremonial ritual with very deep roots in many indigenous cultures of the Americas. Its widespread commercialization, often by non-indigenous people who don't understand the full context, many view that as cultural appropriation. It can trivialize something deeply sacred. Plus, the huge demand for white sage has led to serious concerns about overharvesting, which threatens the plant itself and the indigenous communities who rely on it. So the recommendation is often for non-indigenous folks to use the term smoke cleansing, to educate themselves, and definitely to make sure any herbs they buy are ethically sourced. It's about respect.
Absolutely crucial point.
Yeah.
Okay, moving from air to water, ritual baths. Water seems universally linked to cleansing, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. Using water for spiritual purification is incredibly ancient and widespread. You see it in the Indus Valley thousands of years ago, in Indian Vedic texts, ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome with their thermae, Hinduism with daily baths and reverence for the Ganges, Japanese onsen and misogi purification rituals, Turkish hammams, Russian banyas, Native American sweat lodges. They all connect water or steam or sweat with cleansing, both physical and spiritual or energetic.
So how does that translate into a modern ritual bath for aura cleansing?
It becomes a very intentional practice. You usually start by actually cleaning the bathroom, setting the stage, clearing the physical space. You set aside maybe 20 minutes to an hour, and you set a clear intention. What are you releasing? What positive energy are you hoping to cultivate? People create ambiance, candles, calming music, maybe incense. Then the ingredients go in the water. Salts are huge. Epsom salt for detox and muscle relaxation. Himalayan pink salt, which is believed to have a high vibrational frequency. Unrefined sea salt. Even baking soda sometimes. Usually half a cup to 2 cups.
And essential oils,
Yeah.
herbs.
Definitely. A few drops of essential oils like lavender, eucalyptus, rose, rosemary, but mixed with a carrier oil or an emulsifier so they disperse properly. Fresh or dried herbs and flowers like rose petals, lavender sprigs, chamomile, rosemary add sensory richness and their own perceived energetic qualities. Some people even place water-safe crystals like rose quartz or amethyst in or around the bath to infuse the water with their energy.
And the ritual itself.
You soak for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. It's a time for meditation, deep breathing, really visualizing the water, drawing out negativity, stress, whatever you intended to release. Then, as the water drains, you visualize all those impurities washing away down the drain. Some people like to air dry afterwards or gently pat dry, sort of sealing in the cleansed energy. It's a very embodied, symbolic process.
From water to Earth's minerals,
Yeah.
crystals, how do they fit into aura cleansing?
Crystal healing is based on the idea that crystals, because of how they're formed over millennia, hold really stable, high-frequency energy patterns or vibrations. The belief is that these stable vibrations can interact with our own energy field, the aura and chakras, which is seen as more fluid and changeable. The aim is to use the crystal's energy to clear blockages, transmute negative energy into positive, and restore harmony.
Are there specific crystals known for cleansing?
Yes, definitely. Selenite is probably the #1 cleansing crystal. It's often called liquid light. It has this very high, pure vibration and is believed to clear negative energy super quickly from auras, from spaces, even from other crystals. What's interesting is selenite is generally considered self-cleansing, unlike most others. It's often associated with the crown chakra, mental clarity, spiritual connection. Then you have black tourmaline. That's the classic protection stone. It's thought to absorb negative energy, transmute it, shield you from psychic negativity, even neutralize EMFs from electronics. It's very grounding, linked to the root chakra.
Any others worth mentioning?
Oh yeah, loads. Clear quartz is the master healer, said to amplify energy. Amethyst is calming, good for cleansing emotions. Smoky quartz is grounding and detoxifying. Labradorite is considered an aura protector, strengthening your energetic boundaries.
And how are they used? It's not just holding.
All right. A common technique is aura sweeping or combing. You use a selenite wand or blade, hold it a few inches away from your body, and make sweeping motions from head down to your toes, front and back. You visualize it brushing away energetic debris. Meditation and placement are also key. Holding a crystal during meditation, focusing its energy, or placing specific crystals on the body, often on the corresponding chakra points, like black tourmaline near the base of the spine for grounding. People also carry crystals, like black tourmaline, for ongoing protection. Or they create grids in their homes, placing selenite or black tourmaline near doorways and windows to shield the space energetically.
And you mentioned most need cleansing themselves.
Yeah, because they're believed to absorb negativity, most crystals, selenite being a major exception, need regular clearing to stay effective. You can do that by smudging them, rinsing water-safe ones under running water, burying them in the earth for a bit, or placing them on a piece of selenite.
Okay, we've covered smoke, water, crystals,
Yeah.
external tools. What about methods that rely more on our own internal resources? Mind and body stuff.
Absolutely. Many methods emphasize that your own consciousness and body are powerful tools for cleansing. Meditation and visualization are really fundamental. This involves getting quiet, grounding yourself, and then using focused visualization. You might imagine a brilliant healing light, often described as golden or white, surrounding your aura, smoothing out any perceived dents or holes, dissolving negativity. There's also a technique called aura combing, where you use your own hands a few inches from your body and just energetically comb through your field with the intention to clear it.
And breath. I know breath work is huge in many traditions.
Huge. Breath work, or pranayama in yoga, is considered very purifying. Specific techniques like kapalabhati, the breath of fire, or nadi shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, these are believed to cleanse the nadis, which are the subtle energy channels in the body, balance the chakras, and by extension, purify the aura.
What about sound?
Sound healing is another big one. The idea is that the vibrations from things like Tibetan singing bowls, gongs, tuning forks, even bells, can literally shift and cleanse the aura by altering its frequency. Chanting mantras is also used, things like the Gayatri mantra, or simple positive affirmations. The resonance of the sound is thought to clear, protect, and raise your vibration.
And simply being outdoors.
Yes. Grounding in nature is seen as incredibly effective and simple, just direct contact with the natural world. Walking barefoot on grass or soil, sometimes called earthing, feeling a strong breeze, or even standing in the rain. The idea is you discharge negative or excess energy back to the earth and recalibrate your own energy with the planet's natural frequencies.
And physical movement, like yoga.
Definitely. The body is often seen as holding on to energetic and emotional tension, so movement and sweat are purifying. Yogic sequences like Surya Namaskar, sun salutations, are great because they generate heat, get energy circulating, and help release blockages. Even things like using a sauna or doing hot yoga are seen as beneficial for both physical and energetic detox. And really, the thread connecting all of these, whether it's smoke, water, crystals, or your own mind and body, the absolute crucial element popping up again and again in the sources is intention. It's the focused intention that seems to transform what could be a mundane action, taking a bath, waving smoke around, into something sacred, something therapeutic. It's like the active ingredient.
These methods really do sound holistic, quite beautiful in a way. But now we have to turn to the other side of the coin. For someone listening who's more scientifically minded, the whole idea of an aura might sound a bit, out there, unproven.
Yeah.
How does the scientific community view this?
That's the crucial counterpoint, isn't it? And yeah, from a mainstream scientific perspective, the aura as this multi-layered, colored, metaphysical energy field, it's generally classified as pseudoscience. The main reason is a consistent lack of empirical, reproducible evidence that stands up to scientific scrutiny. There have been controlled experiments, for instance, where people claiming to see auras were tested. They consistently failed to produce results better than chance. Like they couldn't see auras in total darkness or identify people accurately just by their aura if their physical body was hidden. The scientific consensus remains no verifiable proof for that kind of energy field.
But people do generate electromagnetic fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
And body heat.
Absolutely. Living organisms, humans included, definitely radiate low-level electromagnetic fields, and we give off body heat, which infrared cameras can pick up. That's established physics. The leap comes when those known physical phenomena are interpreted as proof of a metaphysical, multicolored, layered aura with specific spiritual meanings. That interpretation is where science says, hold on, the evidence doesn't support that conclusion. It's often seen as a misunderstanding or misapplication of physics.
Okay, what about things like Kirlian photography or those aura imaging cameras you see at fairs? They're often presented as actual proof.
Yeah, those come up a lot. Let's take Kirlian photography first. It looks impressive, right? That glow around an object when high-voltage electricity is passed through it on a photographic plate. But rigorous scientific investigation shows that glow is what's called a corona discharge. It's an electrical phenomenon, basically, the ionization of gas and moisture right on the surface of the object. It's highly dependent on physical factors like humidity, pressure, the moisture on the object itself. And here's the kicker. You can get the exact same effect with inanimate objects, like a metal coin, which kind of debunks the idea it's unique, vital energy.
So it's electricity interacting with moisture, basically.
Pretty much. That famous phantom leaf effect where you tear off part of a leaf, but its aura still shows up in the photo, that's been attributed to things like residual moisture left on the plate or even microscopic etching from the original leaf outline. Nothing mystical needed to explain it. And aura imaging cameras. They use standard biofeedback sensors. They measure things we can measure scientifically. Skin temperature, heart rate variability, how much you're sweating, galvanic skin response. Then a computer algorithm takes that purely physiological data and translates it into a colored overlay on your picture. It looks like an aura photo, but it's not directly detecting some subtle energy field. It's software interpreting normal biological signals. And again, these devices haven't produced scientifically valid or reproducible results when it comes to actually detecting a metaphysical aura.
Okay, so the scientific evidence for the aura itself isn't there.
Yeah.
But people do sincerely believe they see them. And people do genuinely feel better after cleansing. If it's not the aura, what's going on? This is the real puzzle.
It absolutely is the puzzle. And while science doesn't back the object, the aura, psychology and neurology offer some really plausible explanations for the experience. Why might someone believe they perceive an aura? Well, it could be down to simple visual and perceptual illusions, like the afterimage effect. Stare hard at something bright, look away at a plain background, and you see a faint halo. That's just your eyes resetting. Or perceptual distortions, maybe even pareidolia. The brain's tendency to see patterns and random stuff like faces and clouds. It could interpret subtle light variations as an aura.
Could it be neurological?
In some cases, yes. Synesthesia is sometimes mentioned where senses get crossed, like seeing colors when you hear sounds. Though studies suggest the experience isn't quite the same as typical aura descriptions. More directly, conditions like epilepsy, especially temporal lobe epilepsy, and certain types of migraines are known to cause visual disturbances that people sometimes describe as auras, flashes of light, shimmering colors. And then there are psychological factors. Things like being highly imaginative, prone to fantasy, having very vivid mental imagery, or being highly suggestible can play a role. Confirmation bias is also powerful. If you already believe in auras, you're more likely to interpret ambiguous things, a flicker of light, a warm feeling as proof, and ignore explanations that don't fit your belief.
Which leads to the big question. If the aura itself isn't scientifically verified, are the benefits people feel feeling lighter, clearer, just, all in their head? Or is something genuinely beneficial happening?
This is where it gets really fascinating, and the answer seems to be the benefits are real experiences, but the mechanism might be psychological, not metaphysical. So while the object of the cleansing the aura lacks scientific proof, the act of doing the cleansing rituals, that engages some powerful, well-understood psychological processes that genuinely boost well-being. A huge factor is the placebo effect. And these aura cleansing rituals, they're practically tailor-made to maximize it.
How so?
Well, think about the power of ritual itself. Having structured symbolic steps, maybe using special objects, lighting candles, it gives the whole process weight, what researchers call performative efficacy. It just feels more potent. Then there's expectation and belief. That's the core engine of placebo. These rituals actively encourage you to expect positive results through setting intentions, affirmations, visualizing healing light. You're priming yourself for improvement. And if you go to a practitioner, the therapeutic alliance feeling cared for, trusting the person adds another layer of contextual healing. That relationship itself can be powerful.
Beyond placebo, what else is happening psychologically?
Rituals serve fundamental mental health functions, something psychology and anthropology recognize. They create structure and control. In a chaotic world, following specific steps can feel grounding, predictable, reducing anxiety. You feel like you're doing something. They also help with emotional processing. Rituals provide a safe space, a container to deal with difficult feelings. Symbolic actions, washing away negativity, burning away worries, sweeping energy can feel incredibly cathartic, like you're physically releasing burdens. And they mark transitions. A ritual clearly signals a shift from one state, stressed, heavy, to another, calm, light.
And many of these techniques sound like mindfulness.
Exactly. Many aura cleansing methods are essentially applied mindfulness practices. The strong focus on the present moment and sensory experience, the smell of the sage, the warmth of the bath, the feel of the crystal, pulls you out of anxious thoughts and into your body right now. And we have tons of research showing the benefits of mindfulness. Reduces stress, makes you less emotionally reactive, improves focus, increases self-awareness. These map directly onto the benefits people report from aura cleansing. Practices like body scanning or feeling the energy also strengthen that self-connection, improving your ability to notice and regulate your own internal state.
So it's a combination of these things.
Precisely. You've got intention driving belief and placebo. You've got structured ritual reducing anxiety and aiding emotional release. You've got sensory focus acting as mindfulness. You've got visualization, potentially reframing thoughts. Symbolic objects enhance the placebo. Chanting focuses attention and calms the nervous system. The perceived effectiveness, the sources suggest, likely comes not from tweaking an actual energy field, but because the practice itself acts as this really quite sophisticated system of ritualized self-care, leveraging multiple proven psychological principles all at once.
Wow. Okay, this has been quite the journey, covering the spiritual beliefs, the practices, and then this fascinating psychological perspective. So, practically speaking, how do these different methods compare?
Well, we can look at them side by side. Smoke cleansing. Its roots are indigenous and global. It's fairly low cost, accessible, but needs that cultural awareness we talked about. Its power seems to come from belief. Smoke carries away negativity. Plus the psychological aspects, sensory focus, ritual action, symbolic release. Ritual bathing. Ancient global roots. Pretty accessible if you have a bath and time. Cost can be low to moderate, depending on ingredients. Again, it works through belief. Water absorbs impurities. And psychology. Mindfulness, relaxation, self-care ritual. Crystal sweeping healing. More modern, new age origins. Cost varies wildly depending on the crystals. Accessibility is moderate, might need some learning. Mechanism. Belief in crystal vibrations plus the psychological factors. Focused intention, the feel of the crystal, symbolic action, placebo. Visualization and meditation. Roots in global contemplative traditions. Free. Accessibility is high, though it takes mental discipline. Here, the belief is that consciousness itself affects energy, while psychologically it's about cognitive reframing, guided imagery, attention control, mindfulness.
Interesting. Seems the simplest, cheapest ones often rely just on your own mind.
That's often the case, yeah. Internal faculties versus external tools, which offer more structure and sensory input, perhaps enhancing the ritual feel for some people.
And finally, is this a DIY thing, or do you need a pro?
Most methods are definitely designed for self-administration. That's a big part of the appeal. It empowers you with tools for your own well-being, builds self-reliance. It's usually low cost. You can do it whenever you need it. Focuses on introspection. But then you have practitioner-led approaches, like maybe Reiki, where the practitioner is seen as a channel for energy. This brings in the therapeutic relationship. You surrender some agency, which can be good if you feel overwhelmed. The practitioner's presence, their experience, the dedicated setting that can definitely amplify the psychological benefits, especially placebo, from trust and care. But it involves cost, scheduling, even distant healing, while debated, likely works through belief, expectation, and intention on both ends. So the choice really boils down to personal needs, resources, what you feel comfortable with.
So, bringing it all together, how do we reconcile the spiritual belief with the real-world experience? What's the final takeaway?
I think the synthesis is realizing it's this complex dance between spiritual belief, cultural traditions, and our own psychology. Just
Mhm.
dismissing it all because the aura isn't scientifically proven, that misses the very real, often deeply positive experiences people have. But uncritically accepting every metaphysical claim ignores the lack of solid evidence. The nuanced view seems to be, okay, the aura as a literal, measurable energy field. Unproven. But the experience of feeling better, lighter, clearer, more grounded after doing these practices, that's psychologically real and valid. So the value of aura cleansing might not be in manipulating some invisible field, but in using what we could call a sophisticated form of ritual technology. And this technology runs on powerful psychological engines, focused intention and belief boosting the placebo effect, structured, symbolic rituals, easing anxiety and processing emotion, and deep sensory engagement acting as mindfulness.
So the aura becomes a metaphor.
Exactly. A really elegant metaphor for your overall state, mind, body, emotions, all connected. Cleansing the aura become this meaningful, ritualized language for intentional self-care. It's about actively managing your emotional state, cultivating positivity. This perspective doesn't invalidate anyone's spiritual experience. It actually honors it by offering a complementary explanation for why it feels so effective. It builds a bridge, showing that healing and well-being are constructed from meaning, belief, and ritual, just as much as from physical processes we can measure.
What an absolutely fascinating deep dive. We've gone from defining this subtle body and tracing its history to exploring all these diverse cleansing rituals from around the world and landed on the really compelling psychological science behind why they can feel so powerful. You definitely got the shortcut now to understanding this complex topic.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If our minds, through belief and ritual, have this much power to influence our sense of well-being, what other areas of our lives could benefit if we consciously design our own simple ritual technologies for self-care, even without needing a metaphysical layer? Something to ponder. Consider the power of your own intention.